Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, this one has been a long time in the making since the previous Outcast is not even the 2024 one, the 2023 one, where this was, I think, my number two pick for that countdown. PokerFace. So this is a TV show that was created by Ryan Johnson of the Star Wars: The Last Jedi infamy, I suppose, and the Knives Out movies fame. I love the Knives Out movies because we already talked about them, so you probably know that.
Knives Out are
And
very good, yeah.
and suddenly my mom told me, "Hey, so there's this show on the on-demand service that says it's from the creator of Knives Out," and I'm like, "Interesting." So we sat down to watch the first two episodes because those came out at around the same time. We were hooked, and suddenly the season ended, and we begged wanting more, and we are getting more because there is a season two coming less than a month at the time we are recording and releasing. So good timing on that front. But so that's how I got into the show. But Wolf, I assume your experience with the show is I told you we are going to cover this, and now we're here.
Yep.
Interesting, very interesting indeed. So, you know what? Before we get into spoilers, just a kind of a general thoughts thing. I think people already know what I think because I said it was my number two favorite thing in 2023. But, Wolf, what is your non spoilery thoughts on the show?
My non-spoilery thoughts. It's fine.
Really, just fine.
Yeah, I didn't get into this one as much, I'll be honest.
Okay, interesting,
This
interesting.
didn't quite win me over, I'll be honest.
Hmm. Okay,
Now, to
so
be
I
clear, I
guess
think there's some good
we'll.
stuff here, and there's definitely a couple of episodes I really enjoyed, but it just didn't quite win me over in the same way as Knives Out did.
Hmm. And I think this book could probably be something to do with the format that now when you need to do Knives Out, and not necessarily Knives Out, right? Because it is a bit different, and we'll get to how later. But I think when you need to do a show and you need to keep people coming back every so often, it's different than with a movie
Mm.
that you can just have this one plot, and that's it. That's all you get. And here you need to have the plot that keeps going throughout the entirety of the show, and then also have the mini plots for each individual episode. You think that's where things started to fumble a bit for you?
For me personally, I think my biggest issue was it, the show bills itself as a mystery show, and then it just tells you the mystery and the answer in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes at most. And
And
then
that's
you're left watching the rest of the episode like you're not really on, the edge of your seat going, "Oh, wow, what the fuck?" There's no what the fuck moments, I feel. There's just okay, Charlie figured it out, and my attachment here is supposed, or at least to me it feels like my attachment is supposed to be watching Charlie figure it out, and I don't know, I'm just Charlie's character hasn't like grabbed me yet, right? The character of Charlie.
Mhm. And so this is I guess this is just one of those things where we are going to be on opposite sides of the spectrum because I really like Charlie,
No,
and
that's fair.
like what you say though is interesting because to some extent that's kind of the point that you do see the thing happen, and you know what's happening. It's the show is more about how is Charlie going to figure this out.
Yeah, and I don't
and
think I quite like
and
that personally. And I
mhm,
also think another issue with it is too, right, is that it's episodic in nature. So that
kinda.
also, and like we've talked about this many times now, I am not a big fan of episodic shows.
Yeah, I get there is for the record there is an overarching plot,
There is.
but but
It's very much,
we'll get to it more.
yeah, you
We'll
don't
get
really
to it
see
more in
it
spoilers,
until very
but
specific episodes occasionally, and then that's it. And it's basically the first episode, the last episode, and like one or two episodes you
maybe
get
like
hints of it here or there.
sprinkles.
Yeah.
Yeah, like sprinkles here and there. But I get you. But I think overall, to me, I just think that to me, Charlie is a great protagonist, just because she's not the usual type of protagonist that you'll get in a show like this. Like, she's not a detective. She's not as because not to say that the actress Natasha Lyonne is ugly or anything, but she's like at least the way she's at least the way the outfits sit on her, and the way the way the makeup
The way
looks
she
and everything, the way
talks,
her
the way
hair
she
is.
moves, everything
Yeah,
about it.
she's not. Any other show would make her like would appear like she's the every girl, but when it comes to when push comes to shoves, she's pretty hot. Here, I think they actually downplay the actress because the point is to really show that she's just a random woman who got into this mess, not because of her own doing for the most part. Is, and I think she really sells that. She's a very fun main character, in my
Now,
opinion.
let me be clear. I don't think she's a bad character by any means. I think she's a good character. There's just not that thing that has like really grasped me and made me go, "Yeah, I'm rooting for Charlie here." Not yet,
Mhm.
anyways. Not personally. Not for me.
Like you, so I guess it's more that you like her fine, but you're mostly rooting for her because she's the main character. There is not that big attachment moment that you're looking for.
Yeah, it's not happened yet, and that comes with the other issue of like, again, it's a mystery show, right? It's like you're either there for to figure out the mystery yourself or to watch those characters figure out the mystery, right? Those are your two big
Mhm.
selling points for shows like this, typically. And generally, if you're there, if the show is designed in a way, and this one is, where you're watching the characters figure out the mystery because you already know the answers, then to me at least there has to be that connecting thing, that thing that makes you connect with the character and make you go, yeah, I'm rooting for them. I want them to figure this out. I want them to get the bad guy.
Mhm.
As of right now,
So
I've not had that with Charlie, and so it does take away from the show a bit for me personally, right?
mhm.
Again, not saying it's bad,
Well,
not saying she's bad,
of
just that
course,
I've not
I
had
get
that
you.
connecting factor yet.
Mhm. Now, that's actually something I want to ask you about, and I guess might as well just say spoilers from this point onward if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen the show, it's been a while, so you
Okay.
might have seen it.
Season
But
two is
for
coming out soon, though. Get ready.
yeah, so
We'll
get ready
talk
for
about
that.
that.
Whenever it finishes, I should stress because just like this season, it's going to spread over a couple of weeks.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
we're probably going to cover it once it's completed. But anyway, spoilers for season one in three, two, one. Still here? Okay, so before we actually start delving this in episode by episode, it's been a while since we did one of those, right? Now that I say it like that.
Kind of. We kind of
Oh,
we say we'll do it episode by episode, then we sometimes don't anyway. So
yeah, so I just think this is the first time in a while that I think we actually need to do this. But anyway, when it comes to this, the I don't want to compare it to the Knives Out movies too much, but I think there's this kind of setup that they did with Glass Onion. That if you remember when we covered that, Audrey kind of spoke against it back when we did that with everyone who was here. That you see a story unfold, and then you have to go back to see the same events from a different character's point of view, and then it's supposed to be a matter of how do they get out of it? How does this work exactly?
yeah, they
And
that's a very common setup within this show. They do it quite in quite a few episodes.
that's how an episode is structured mostly.
Not all of them, I would say. I say there's a few that are structured a little bit differently, but a
I
lot of them
guess
are structured that way. Yeah.
the last one, maybe the finale is the different one, but other than that, it's usually you get to know the characters in a certain place, and like the hierarchy of what the character connections are, what everything is, and then like you cut back to see Charlie, what's Charlie's connection to the specific place, and how she's going to figure it out. So I think as soon as I figured out the format in the second episode, I'm like, okay, so we are kind of doing the glass onion thing, which I'm all for.
Yeah,
Honestly, I kind of
I'm not
like that.
against it personally, but I would have enjoyed it more if they would have tried to change it up more instead of doing the exact
Mhm.
same setup every single time. Do something a little bit different, or at the very least, maybe I think it would have been interesting, and maybe I just missed it, right? And I could have not seen it, but I think it would have been interesting to have when they're doing that, like, hey, here's what happened, and then we flash back kind of and see Charlie's perspective, right? During the
Mhm.
bit during and it's basically like every episode, or almost every episode, I would say, you get, like I said, right, the first 10-15 minutes is basically you don't get Charlie's viewpoint, you get the viewpoint of the characters who are setting up your mystery, the person being murdered or the group of people being murdered and the people or person doing the murdering, basically,
Mhm.
right? And then you get to see them, and then after that happens, we get to see Charlie's viewpoint from it all and how she was either connected to the murderer or the murder victim, and what she was doing during that, right? And then we get to see how she figures it out after we already know what's happened. Which, this is the fine way of doing it. Nothing wrong with doing it this way. Not to my personal liking, but that's just me. I
Yeah.
will say though, again, as I said before, I would have liked it if they would have changed that up a bit from time to time, or what I was going to suggest is have instances where we can see Charlie in the background or something doing stuff.
The only one that's kind of there is, I think it's in episode 5 with
See, I missed that.
in the old with the old folks home, where it's a bring it or miss it, but there's a point like near the end, or near like the end of the first part of the episode, that you can hear Charlie's voice in the background calling
Mm,
people to the bus.
yeah,
But
I
I
definitely
it's
missed that.
very but like you said, like and you're not the only person who saw the show that missed that. From the people that I shared the show with, I think I'm the only person who figured it out. Like again,
Mm,
from the specific group of people that I know have watched the show, and I talked to them about that.
fair enough.
So
I think maybe
so
do a little bit more stuff like that. I don't think
mhm,
that's gonna like make the show better or anything, but I think it just would have helped. Question mark. That's not really
mhm,
helpful at all, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I think though it will be interesting to come back to this once season two
mm-hmm.
completes, to kind of see if because we could probably figure it out from like season two, from the way season two handles, if this was actually a common criticism or not. Because honestly, I haven't heard a lot of reviews for this papa. Like I've seen some reviews for it, but most of
I
them just seem to like take it at face value.
I will say, for this show, I do think it got stronger as it went on. Like, I may not have enjoyed it as much, but I do think it got stronger as it went on. Because I remember the first couple of episodes kind of being like, these are kind of mad little mystery things. Like, I'm not that interested in them. And then as it went on, like, they started doing what I felt were slightly more interesting mysteries, right? Slightly more interesting, like, whodunits and all that. Shouldn't really call
I
them
think
mysteries
it's
because they're mostly just
also,
whodunits.
I think part of it could also just come down to stuff that you're personally interested in, because maybe
True.
jumping the gun a bit here, but my favorite episode is, I think it's episode 8. And this, obviously this will kind of be my favorite because it's a subject that I'm very interested in. It's a subject that
Mm.
really speaks to me. So obviously I'm gonna be attached to that type of mystery a lot more.
Mine was
So maybe
episode
that
6, I will say.
six is also a really good one.
I loved the back and forth between Kathleen and Michael, the actors who
Yeah,
played them. I forget their names.
we'll get to them because I think the best way to really talk about this show is to do this episode by
Sure.
episode. So let's go to episode one. And I have to say, if I had a nickel for every show that has a hotel slash casino where where the owner of the place doesn't want to get his father involved in running the business, and the protagonist is a girl named Charlie, I would have two nickels.
Haha.
You say it like that, but you have to admit that's pretty. That's a pretty good coinky dink.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Johnson beat you too at Vivzy Pop. Just saying. Okay. Anyway, moving on with that. Um. So first of all, is it me or has Adrian Brody been in anything before this like that was notable? Because I swear to God, I haven't seen this guy in anything for decades, and suddenly he's in this show, and it's like, damn, he's a great actor. I forgot.
Oh, well, hmm.
He's the guy who runs the casino who
Yeah, I
doesn't
know you're
want
talking
to.
about. I was just thinking, like you said, recently, and I was like, well, he's been in quite a bit of stuff. But no, you're right. He's in a lot of stuff quite some time ago, but recently,
Like, I mean, because he just won an
nothing that I've
Oscar for the
watched.
record, but like before this, I'm like, I swore that I haven't seen him in years, and suddenly
It's
he's in this show, and I'm like,
oh shit.
damn,
He was apparently uh in Fantastic Mr. Fox. He was the voice. He was a voice in that. Who was he? I did not
really?
realize he was in that.
Oh, I had no idea. Interesting, learning something new every day. But yeah, but even then, that movie was like what, 2010?
9.
Nine. So either way, it's been a while since that movie. So it's still like,
He's been in some movies like in 2021, 2022, and 2023, but nothing that I personally watched, I will admit.
yeah. So maybe it's just that I missed him, that I missed the stuff that he's been in. But like, so again, suddenly seeing him in this, and I'm like, damn, I haven't seen this guy in a while, but I thought he's a legit good actor. It was like reuniting with a good friend, I suppose. That it was like
Yeah,
seeing him again. It's like, damn.
he's a really good actor, yeah.
hmm And so yeah, so we see him trying to run this casino, but also he's kind of like he wants to show that he can do it because he doesn't want to be, the daddy's boy, because his dad runs the empire, and he's given his son this one casino, and he's like, I want to do this right, I want to do this without his help, I'm going to make a name for myself. Problem is he's pretty bad at it, and one of the servers there, and you know things happen, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So he has this, can we call him a bodyguard or a hired hand? What do you want to call
I'd say
Cliff?
I'd say like bodyguard works or like head of security, you know.
hmm So yeah, so the thing is that, one of the servers, I think, Natalie, she discovers inappropriate content on his computer. So he sends Cliff in to kill her, and he also kills her boyfriend. And he also stages it as if it's supposed to be like, I killed her and then I killed myself kind of thing, to avoid jail. Which honestly, this was, again, if I have to credit something, just the one shot of showing like the trailer, and then Cliff comes in, shoots them both, and the way he stages it, that's I don't want to say dark necessarily, because this is the type of show that, it's part of the thing, but like, it's one of those things that it's disturbing, but it hits the right way
Mm-hmm.
for what they're trying to convey.
It's a good first episode setup, right? Like it works for what they're doing and really going like, okay, this is this kind of show. All right.
Mhm. And I think also because this is the first episode and you don't necessarily know where it's going, the fact that you don't even know who the main character is because we don't meet Charlie until after we see this.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, I just found it really interesting. It's a very interesting way to set up to set up an episode, to set up this is how we are going to do this. This is how we're staging that. And then yeah, after this we get to meet Charlie, who becomes our main protagonist, and we see that she was actually really good friends with Natalie. So now we know how this entire thing becomes personal to her. And I already said that Natasha Lyonne is just wonderful in this role. She's great.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that makes Charlie unique is that she has essentially a built-in lie detector. What did you think about that?
It's fine. I just don't think it's a good enough hook personally. Like that there's nothing about that that really stands out, which is not a bad thing per se, but
Mhm.
for a mystery show where you're trying to get people invested and you want them to like, you know, really be on the edge of their seat and rooting for this character. And there's a lot of mystery shows out there that I think have done like more unique characters in better ways, I feel.
But I get what you're saying, but to me, what's interesting about her is that yeah, she can probably detect a lie. Problem is, it just your word to say I have a built-in lie detector and I can tell when people lie to me isn't really a good enough it's not really a good enough proof at any
Mm-hmm.
sort of court of law when it comes to actually having the right person arrested.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So what's interesting is not necessarily that she can detect the lie, it's how she's going to prove that there's a lie going on
No,
and
I
that she
agree
can
with you.
bring the
Yeah,
person to justice.
absolutely. Yeah.
So because she has this thing and the Cliff and Edgy and Brody, I forgot the character's name, so forgive me. They kind of hire her in order to try and set up that somebody else was involved in Natalie's murder, and they start having her like plant bugs in rooms and try to you know try
Well,
to prove that there's this one guy who's constantly there who might have something to do with it.
well, no, that's the thing. They're not even trying to set up that it was someone else who murdered her. That's just a B plot where they're just trying to like fleece a guy in a poker game,
Hmm.
and just
But
Charlie thinks that he did it, but no.
But that's the thing. They sort of seem to try and imply to her that she's doing it in order to avenge her friend, at least at
She's grief
first.
stricken, right? That's
Yeah.
what they say, and they just keep telling her, "Let it go,
Mhm.
just get over it, move on."
Mhm. But then she actually reveals that she is actually essentially scammed the scammer, and now that really hurts the casino's reputation. And if I have to say, really cool shot is when Adrian Brody realizes that he's done, and when he sees the call from his father, he just opens the window and throws himself off. The way he jumps off the window, that's a really damn good shot. That looks
Oh
great.
yeah, absolutely great. And also, again, that was one of the times that the show was like, "Oh shit, that surprised me." That was your "oh shit" moment. I did not expect him to just do that shit. Okay, where do you
Yeah.
go from here? Interesting.
Mhm. And especially when his father called Charlie afterwards, and he tells her, I could barely recognize my son at the autopsy." And when he tells her that he wants to get her, and this is a really cool line also, that he tells her, "Now tell me, did I just lie?" And she doesn't even need to say anything. She doesn't need to just her reaction to that question. That gets you. That sets you up. on with the rest of the show.
We should also mention because you know from the voice, or at least I did. But oh
Hmm.
fuck, what's his name? The guy playing
Ron Perlman.
Frost, yeah, Ron Perlman, Frost Senior. Ron Perlman's
Hmm.
always also. I mean, they have a lot of star power in
I
the
kn-
show,
I knew you were going to mention that. I knew it.
but it's Ron
So
Perlman. He's fucking great.
yeah, he is. I'm not saying no, but I know that whenever he showed up in other stuff that we've covered, I know that you would usually bring him up. So
Ron Perlman's
yeah,
my goat, man. I grew up with him. He was like so many movies back in my time during the
yeah, fair,
90s.
fair enough, very fair. So, but yeah, I think I kind of
What's
clued
our
in on
time
his
really?
voice.
But
Yeah, I kind of clued in on his voice in the first episode, but yeah, we don't see him until the finale. But and he also sends Cliff after Charlie to to bring her
mhm.
to him, which is the point where I'm going to say Cliff is underused in my opinion.
Yeah, I think I would have liked a few more times where he popped up or did something with Charlie during. Also,
But
is there a reference that they're trying to make with something with him just being a really big Burn Notice fan? Because I did not expect to hear Burn Notice in
I
2025.
I don't know honestly. I have no idea. but because after this, Cliff appears in the second episode. In
There are
episode
people
4,
alive right now that don't know what Burn Notice is, and that just amazes me.
I it's I might be one of those people because I'm not connecting it to anything.
Oh no, you were alive when it aired. You may not have watched it, but
Oh,
you were alive when it aired. But
okay,
it was a
fair enough.
2007 show.
It's but by the way you talked about it, I thought it was something from the 80s.
I'm
2007
not
is
that old.
2007 though. That's not even 20 years ago.
It's
So
pretty
interesting.
close.
Hmm. I say that as if it means anything, but yeah, no.
It's true.
I mean though 2007 though is it's a year I remember. That's the thing. So
Fair. But yeah, like I was just
what has this conversation gone to?
it was just it's just it was a show I watched when I was much younger that, I've not heard anyone talk about or mention anything about since. It was just one of those old random, shows. And then I just watched this and just burn notice reference. Burn notice reference. I'm like, why are we referencing burn notice so much? What the fuck?
M- Maybe
I don't get
maybe
it.
maybe someone's a fan.
Maybe
Go
someone's a
figure.
fan. Maybe, I don't know. It's just weird. it's it's
I
weird
mean,
nostalgia trip for a bit.
something. This is the second episode in a row that we do where we just flashback like it was Limp Biscuit in the previous
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Now that's
I mean, I'm not against, taking, trips down memory lane. It's just weird.
just it's that moment where you slowly start to realize that the 2000s are nostalgic now. That people look at stuff from this era and be like, "Damn, like we need to reference that."
We're old, man.
Yeah, we are. Anyway, before we get too depressed, moving on to episode
Single
2,
tier.
the night shift. So this is the episode where the format of the show starts being clearer in
Yeah.
terms
Start
of
setting in stone and
how
everything.
how we do this. I personally I enjoy this one, if I just for because I think the general area the general area where the episode takes place, like just this subway place, that gas station subway place.
Mm.
It's kind of a character in itself, just that area,
Yeah.
and so I always enjoy these types of shows or movies that that just really have those small towns that are not necessarily a part of any big town or something, just this little community that gets together well and see how everyone lives with it. So in a way, I just really dug the idea that again the scenario, the setting, the scenario is kind of a character in itself.
By the way, Subway, how much did you pay for this ad placement? You got an entire episode devoted to you.
Uh, some I guess enough. I guess enough to be here. So here we have this guy named Damien, who seems to be living the life as much as he could. He's flirting with the cashier girl at the grocery store, and there's a guy that hates him because he also wants the girl, and he keeps trying to fill up a lottery ticket in order to win.
Mhm.
On the night he actually won, the dude named Jed just decided, you know what, I really hate you, and he pushes him off one of the shop's roof. Now we need to figure out how Jed needs to get his comeuppance. Just so happens that Charlie's car breaks down and she needs it fixed. By the way, John Ratzenberger as the car repairman. That's
Mhm.
fucking awesome.
Yeah.
If you don't know who he is, I think he's still been in every Pixar movie ever made.
I think you're right. He's definitely been in a lot of them.
I know I like if maybe in the past couple of years there might have been one that he's not in, but he's in every Pixar movie otherwise. Like in the Toy Story franchise, he's the voice of Ham. He was the
Monsters
flea in A
Inc.
Bug's Life. The Snowman in Monsters Inc.
Mhm.
Easy, everyone. Just go to a Pixar wiki and type his name. You'll find everything. He's in every Pixar movie.
He was the Underminer in Incredibles, I believe. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a lot of stuff at the very least for Pixar.
Yeah. So
Very
as far as I'm aware,
recognizable voice.
yeah. Even Cars One actually makes fun of it. That is in every Pixar movie.
True.
So yeah, it was just really cool to see him here. I don't really recognize the other actors. If I've seen them anywhere, or if they've been in anything, I apologize. But it was great to see him doing live action stuff. I don't think I've ever seen him in a live action role, and he actually has one of my favorite moments in the episode where it's kind of it's kind of put up there that he knows that Jed killed Damien, and he always seemed to be like some sort of a mentor to Jed because Jed works for him.
Mhm.
And when Jed tries to explain himself, he detaches the hearing aid device that he has, because that's like the coldest way to say, I don't care what you're saying. I am not even going to listen to you.
No,
That's
that was a good ending though. Absolutely.
that was so powerful, so good. And again, so not and I also just like the idea that again Charlie has to kind of bond with people she doesn't really know, and like with everyone, there are the people she clicks with, there are the people she doesn't click with. I think for this, but the show does kind of fix it later, that it seems pretty obvious that she'll click with the quote unquote good guys and not the quote unquote bad guy, but that also changes as the show goes on, to give it more of
Does it?
a.
There's one episode they do that with, but does it really change?
At least the fact that it's not a trope, and there is
I
some,
mean,
even
if
if
you
it's just for
do
one
it
episode.
9 out of 10 episodes,
eh, okay, I see your point. But I think overall this was but it also shows that despite besides her lie detector, she is smart. She does piece together that, wait a minute, a guy that filled all the tickets all the time didn't get a chance to win, but suddenly this one guy who filled a lottery ticket just this one time suddenly won. That is sus. You have to admit.
again, I don't
So
disagree with you that she's smart, but one of my issues is right is because it's an episodic show. You never get the sense again. It comes with the same problems an episodic series has, right? That you never get the sense that the main character has learned from their previous interactions and experiences, right? And
Hmm.
I feel personally that there are mistakes that Charlie tends to make that she makes multiple times in every single episode because it's
And
episodic.
that's something that I do agree with, that at some point you also kind of just want to grab this woman and tell her, what are you doing? Like you're only doing this because you know you have main character immunity
Yeah.
in some
which
cases.
which sucks because again, right? You're here because you want to see how she solves it. You want to see, how long does it take her to solve it? How do you figure this out? And what is your process, right? I'm rooting for you. I want you to solve it. But then if you're also kind of having this bit of this issue of God, just grr, it kind of takes away from that. I feel, and this comes back to one of my issues of why I just didn't feel that attachment with Charlie yet, right?
Mhm. I do get you, but I think though this is also
Again, this is just personal nitpick
thing.
too, right? Let me be
Yeah,
clear.
I get you. I get you. I just think, looking back at it, it might be just a thing that, depending on who you are either going to find that character trait endearing
Mm-hmm.
or you're going to find it frustrating.
Yep,
It could be one of the two, and depending on how you see that, that could affect your opinion of the show. I
absolutely
totally
fair.
get you. Mhm. But to be honest, the next episode is probably my least favorite this season, The Stall.
This
Now,
is definitely one of the weaker ones. Yeah, I'd agree.
when I say least favorite, it doesn't mean that I think it's bad. If anything, I kind of like the overall plot that the bad guys have in here, especially, I guess, way to call us out with that podcast, right?
I
but
loved that.
I
I
just
thought
love
that
though
was
that,
so
yeah,
good.
and that it's just a cover that they started, but then he just kind of have like this re-recording thing that he keeps playing, and then as he's doing that, he has a time limit to sneak out, do something else, and then come back just in time. That's pretty damn great, I have to say.
I do
That's pretty good.
also love that you find out that like a ton of the radio station is just being done by one guy who's just faking everything, being impersonating all these different voices and all that.
Hmm.
Also, I just love the idea of the like racist, homophobic, like sexist dog.
Yeah,
The dog who's
yeah,
just like hardcore, like hard
yeah,
right
no,
wing. It's just so dumb.
the the dog does steal the show in this case. Yeah.
I thought it was
Uh,
so funny.
mhm. But also, I do dig the concept a bit of, there's this one, because what essentially this place, it's a very famous, restaurant that specializes in meat, right? So it does make sense. Imagine if you run a meat business that's been in the family, right? And suddenly you see a movie like, is it, how is it spelled?
Okja.
Okoya?
Okja, I
Okocha.
think. Okja, I think it's
Okja.
pronounced.
Yeah. And suddenly you're like, fuck, I'm a murderer. It's like, yeah, that's kind of bad for business when you think about it. That's a legit threat to them. Like, as even though it's stupid, right? And intentionally so, it does make sense. You know what I mean? It makes sense that suddenly this would be a threat to this restaurant.
Fair.
And I also do like that, how Charlie ends up revealing it, like him, because, though, to be honest, what are the chances that some people think it was part of the skit when they played those recordings in the on the radio? And especially when Charlie hires someone to do a voice impression just to, to trick that one lady. It's like, that's again, it's this is one of those episodes that kind of that's not the best. I think it might even be my least favorite in the season overall. But there are just some cool, creative, funny, even probably even silly moments here that I
I
say
think yeah,
it's
this one's
still worth
a
a
little bit
watch.
more on the comedic side, right? With like the
Yeah.
scenario it sets up and the characters you're interacting with a lot of the times. It is a
Mhm.
little bit funny and weird and off kilter compared to some of the rest of the episodes that you tend to see.
But at least we have the dog.
The dog's my favorite. I love him. I love the racist dog.
Yeah. Moving on to episode 4 then, unless you have something to add.
No, again, I agree with you. I think it's definitely one of the weaker episodes of the series, but still fun.
Yeah. Again, weakest doesn't mean bad. It
Yeah,
just means
absolutely.
that we liked others more.
Hmm.
Speaking of, one of my favorites is episode 4, Rest in Metal. Maybe it's because I have experience in the metal scene. I have some metalhead friends, and they got me interested in some music and everything. So I love that there's this band that's kind of has that's they're way past their time, right?
Hmm.
And they only had like the one successful song. Nobody knows everyone else.
Hmm.
It's just this one song, right? So they just hired this drummer who is just happy to be along for the ride, and they figure out that he wrote the one hit that they need.
Hmm.
So obviously they plan to murder him,
As you do.
as you do. Yeah. To be honest, I think I'm not saying that something like this happened or something, right? God forbid, but is it sad that this is probably the most realistic episode so far in terms of what people would do for fame?
Sad, maybe. Realistic, definitely. I would say.
I, I mean, I'm pretty sure something
Well,
like this. Not
I don't
not the
know.
exact same way,
I
mind
don't
you,
know if they
but
would like kill them, but they would definitely,
yeah, and there would
steal
be
the work
backstab.
and like, be backstabby
Yeah,
and all that. Yeah.
there would be backstabs. Just look at everything that happened with Nickelodeon, right? That's
Mm.
um. So yeah, the other thing though, I will say the Sucker Punch song that the drummer guy writes. It is a pretty slapping song, I have to admit. When you actually listen to it in the episode, that's a really
Agreed.
good song, all things considered.
Agreed.
Uh, Um, but I do like also that the way that Charlie reveals that, or the way that Charlie calls them out, is that they're about to sign the papers for the song, right?
Hmm.
They're about to sign in on about everything regarding their song, and suddenly, without it, they find out that the melody it belongs to like this old sitcom or something, and there's a copyright lawsuit coming. But
That's not even
even
something
then,
Charlie does though. Like that's not even linked to what Charlie did. Charlie's just the one who sent it to the murder podcast.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But still, but not only that. So for one, they get one punch to the face with that copywriting, because the theme is lifted strictly from an old sitcom. Which honestly, imagine if someone tried to write a metal song and it like has the same beat as the Full House theme. That would have been something.
I'm sure
And
someone's done that.
something maybe someone did. We live in strange times, but after that, she also turns them into like this crime podcaster, and now they're completely ruined. She basically destroyed their careers, and we established earlier that they don't really have anything to fall on. They don't have any money. They're done. Rightfully so. They're a bunch of assholes, but at the same time, it's like it's there's something really interesting about the fact that she just took it so personally that she destroyed all of their lives. Also, hi Cliff.
Yeah, hi Cliff. Your one
Uh,
appearance.
mhm. And again, this is something that I like in concept. I like that because there was a video of her on the internet. He can find her, and he knows where. And I like that she even makes the joke of, "I didn't take you for a TikToker." That's nice. My problem is that it needed to happen more. he needed to show up more because the actor describes them as a ticking time bomb. He doesn't appear enough in order to fit that description. You know what I mean?
Who are you talking about now? Say again. Who do you mean?
Cliff.
So you think what do you mean about Cliff being a ticking time bomb?
That's how the actor describes the role. That he is the ticking time
Ah,
bomb of the show.
yeah. No, I don't see it, and I think a lot of that comes from he's just not around enough. He needed to make a couple more appearances, right? I
Yeah.
feel.
Like I said, this is episode 4. The next time we see him, it's episode 9.
And that's when it's kind of at the end of episode 9, and then you're in episode
Yeah, and
10.
then yeah, so like not much of a ticking time bomb, or like the bomb has a really long fuse.
Yeah, it's like, hey, bomb, bye, bomb. Bomb's here now. It's
By the way,
exploded.
yeah. Speaking of bomb, I just want to inform everyone that Wolf sent to me the full house team, but metal.
Yeah,
Thanks for
someone's
that.
done it.
Well,
I
at the
knew
very least,
that's what I was
I
doing.
knew, I knew this was probably out there. Like the internet probably did that. But what I mean though is if someone wrote an original song and just lifted the beat, not a,
No, this
this
is not
guy,
that.
this guy is at least honest by saying, "Hey, it's a cover.
Yeah,
I
this
am
is just
not
yeah, this
taking."
is just a cover. Still funny
But
though. I figured someone
yeah.
had to have done it.
Yeah, but so nice to see that we were right. And yeah, but episode 4, otherwise, I really like episode 4. I enjoyed that one
Yeah, it's a
a
fun
lot.
one.
Now for episode 5.
I think this is
Um,
another one of those like it's really fun episodes, and it's a bit more comedic in nature to some degree.
To be honest, I will say this is the one that has the most ridiculous setup where one of the girls, I think her name is Irene. So there's this girl who's just is paralyzed from the waist down, right? She's in a wheelchair and she's managing to lift herself up and climb up a fence like Spider-Man
Woman has
into another room.
incredible arm strength and
Yeah,
upper
like
body strength.
I guess whatever doesn't go into her lower body definitely went into the upper body because
As an
holy
old
shit.
lady, mind you, by the way, too. Like
Yeah,
she
as
is
an old
not young.
lady. Like
This
again, I should old folks home. I stress.
yeah,
So
this old lady could probably out power lift quite a few people. Maybe even me. Probably me. Definitely me. That
it's like
probably says a lot about
again,
me, but still,
again.
I think
I
it's just
remember this.
ridiculous. Like, and
I
she's not
remember
just
this.
climbing up a small fence. Like, no, she's climbing up 2 stories. To be clear,
Why do you think I used Spider-Man as a comparison? She's basically Spider-Maning into the room.
I don't know how the hell, and she has to climb back down as well. I don't know how the hell she
Yeah,
got back
that's the
down.
other thing. She needs to calm down. What? That's just
Incredible upper body strength.
yeah. I guess those drugs are put to good use. I assume.
Incredible upper body strength.
Mhm. The other thing I want to point out, speaking of actors that I haven't seen in a long time, and boy, what a role! Simon Helberg, Howard Wolowitz from The Big Bang Theory, just walking in. Hi, I'm an FBI agent.
I'm not a big fan of the Big Bang Theory, so
You don't need to be, but just watching that show and suddenly him walking in, that the
never
only
seen the Big Bang Theory. Let me be clear.
okay, this makes more sense. But for the people who do like me, this is like talk about a 180 in terms of the characters you play.
Fair.
And not that he does a bad job, right? He
No,
does
I
a
think
good enough job,
he's a
but
good.
it's
Yeah.
it's one of those when it takes you time because you're so used to an actor playing a certain character and then you're like, yeah, you're an FBI agent, sure, but no, he does good. He does good. I'm not saying that he doesn't. Again, it's just one of those. I know who you are, but where did I see you? Oh shit, you are that guy.
It is
Oh my god.
unfortunate. I do think some of the actors from Big Bang Theory have been a little bit like they played those characters so long, it's harder for them to get other roles because I've definitely seen the guy who plays Sheldon. So I know that one
I-
at least. Like he's been in a few
yeah,
other roles in a few different movies, and it's like it's hard to unsee him as that character, unfortunately.
yeah. Well, because that's kind of the sad fact with a lot of actors, not just
True.
that particular show, but yeah, I get you. That they have this one. If I think one of the best examples for
Well,
that is Jennifer Aniston. Every character she plays is basically Rachel from Friends.
it kind of true. I think she's had a few roles where it's been vastly
I'm
different,
not saying
but
she didn't.
yeah,
I'm not saying she didn't, but usually when I see her, that's the character that they usually get her to do.
that's fair. But I mean, I definitely think there are roles that an actor gets typecasted into to some degree that you know what, this is fine for the career. And then there are roles like, oh, I'm only ever seen as Sheldon. This kind of sucks for the career. Like, uh,
Yeah.
fuck.
And how many times have we mentioned Catherine, whatever the last name is, that no matter what show or movie she'll do, I'll just keep seeing Hannah Baker.
Mhm.
And poor her, she's trying. She's a good actress. It's just that that's the only thing I see whenever she's on screen.
I think, an example of where this is actually not a problem and quite successful for them is Hugh Jackman as Wolverine or, some of or
Yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, right? Like, this has not hurt them at all.
No. Well,
But
anywho,
yeah,
with the episode itself, though, I already alluded to this. I like that there's even if it's just the one, I like that there's an episode where Charlie actually gets along with the person who did it,
yes,
and that she's
agreed.
actually friends with them before she realizes that they're crazy. And again, I have to say, the climax for this episode was, again, really entertaining, almost in how stupid it is, because it's essentially Charlie seems to be like, what, she's like in her 40s, maybe
It
30s
maybe
or
30, yeah,
40s.
30s or 40s somewhere in that area.
Yeah, she's probably in the 30s or 40s, and these two are all ladies, right? They're like 70s or 80s, and again, one of them is paralyzed from the waist down, and just the entire climax is basically hell against the two of them, and they keep her on her toes. They are giving her a run for her money. It's ridiculous, but I kind of love it for it. And I also love that they try in a last ditch effort to blow up the car that she's in. Like, holy shit.
No, I think it's
These
they blew up the poor woman. They blew up poor Catherine Callan.
that too. Like these two, like I there's a good chance that out of all the criminals who've seen this show, these are the ones that did the most damage. They have the biggest body count, if anything.
Mm, yeah, yeah, I think you're right. Actually,
Besides Ron Perlman, maybe
yeah. Besides
they
Ron
have the
Perlman,
biggest.
yeah.
They have the biggest body count, and they're like old ladies. And again, I kind of like this backstory of like how they had all of this thing that that they were in this relationship with this good drug dealer, and something happens, and all that stuff, and then you find out that the drug dealer is a guy that they killed and faked his cardiac arrest, and it's one of those. It's ridiculous, but I'm intrigued by their ridiculousness, and I think the
Well, it's
episode
also
is
like
also
they were
self-aware.
they were like homegrown terrorists during like the hippie era in the '70s and everything, and they were gonna blow up
Yeah,
the Model UN, which is basically like a bunch of children they were gonna blow up, and it's like holy
yeah,
fuck.
yeah. No, that again, and I think that's what I say, that the show kind of knows that it's ridiculous, because these these two are like are essentially terrorists. They
Yeah.
are they are a pair of terrorists, and it's like, and it's like they are and I think the show kind of knows that it's ridiculous, because they just go along with it. they have fun with the concept, even though
This
it's
is also the
crazy.
first time we get to see Charlie get physical as well, and it's a fight
Yeah,
with two old ladies.
yeah. Like I said, and they like I said, this 32, this woman in her 30s, maybe 40s,
Has to
is
beat the shit
you
out of two
know.
old women, and one of them's paralyzed.
Yeah. And again, they give her a run for the money. It's a fair fight to some degree because they also drug her. It's great. It's something. I think this episode is stronger than I give it credit for. Now that
I
we're
do
talking
like
about
when Charlie uses the stun gun on herself, and they're like, "What the fuck?" And it's just
Yeah.
taking a moment there to just kind of just let that scene set, and they're just kind of standing around like, "Did we? What? What happened? What? Why?"
Yeah.
Again, there's some fun stuff from this show. No lie.
Mhm. Yeah. So overall, I think it's probably one of the weaker ones. It's one of the funniest ones,
Mm.
though, for all the reasons. For all
Yeah,
the
like
reasons.
we talked about episode 3 being like weaker, but still funny. I think this is stronger than episode 3 in the funny department while being weaker in like the rest of it, right? Compared to other episodes.
And then that's about right, I suppose.
But again, still a fun episode, 100%.
Hmm. Well, that being said, moving on to episode 6, you
My
said it's a
my
your
personal
favorite.
favorite. Yes, I love this one. I this is one I think is the perfect example of, man, I wish they would like not reveal the answer to the mystery, because I was sitting there watching it, I was like, "Huh, this one's actually got an interesting mystery going on." So it's cuz it's you have these two actors, right? Kathleen and Kathleen Townsend and Michael Graves. Also, I love some of the names in this. Graves, or the old lady
Yeah.
from the previous one, Irene Smothers, because she like goes up there
Mhm.
and makes the dude go into cardiac arrest, almost smothering him, shit like that. Or she tries to choke out Charlie, smothering her. I love some of the
Mhm.
little name nods and all that shit. But anyways, like yeah, so you have these two actors who are going to do a play together, but they absolutely hate one another. They just despise each other, right?
Mhm.
And they're setting all this up and they're doing everything, and then like during the play they're doing it the night of, and you see, oh shit, they're trying to kill one another. One of them tries to get the guy tries to get Michael Graves, the guy tries to get
Mhm.
Kathleen Townsend to fall on her, like because she does a trap door
Yeah.
scene, and she's supposed to
Mhm.
fall, but he's taking away the support mats and everything, so she just falls and gets hurt that way and
Mm,
dies that way, right?
yeah.
And then
And she's
Kathleen's
trying to
trying to
drop
get
the.
a light fixture on top of Michael. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, the light fixture misses Michael, and he's like, his heart's giving him trouble and everything. And his wife runs up as like, trying to get help and get him. And then she's
Mhm.
the one who falls in the trapdoor and dies. And at that point, I was like, oh shit, okay, this is actually a good mystery setup. Now I have to sit here and figure out, was that an accident? Or was that an accident and they were trying to kill each other, or was that on purpose? And then all of a sudden, immediately, hey, I love you, babe. We actors, this was our best, acting ever. We actually fooled everyone, and we wanted my wife to die. It's like, man,
Yeah.
fuck. Like, why'd you reveal it to me? I didn't want to. Why didn't you do that scene later? Do the scene where you
Yeah.
actually find out that these two actors are still in love, and they planned all this after the fact, so that way I can figure it out with Charlie.
Okay, that's actually a good point that I didn't think of, because I think it was a really good oh shit moment for me.
Mm.
But now that you mention it, it could have worked. You have a good point though.
Because that was like the
Um,
one I think this is like the best example of, oh, again, a great oh shit moment, because it's not the person I expected to see die. So it's like, oh shit, what happened here? Why did this happen? What's going on here? Was this on purpose? Was it an accident? And then they just reveal the answer to you, and you're like, oh well, okay. I guess I'll watch Charlie figure it out now, but I was kind of like really hyped up to figure it out along with her there for a second. But all right, cool.
so one of the things though to me is that even though it was
Still
a
a
good
fun
twist,
episode though.
I was kind of disappointed that I said when I said Jamila this episode, where it's like I love her from The Good Place.
Oh
She was in that show and she was great.
yeah, they killed her
And
so quick.
what did you say?
You said Jamila Jamil, and you're like, you were probably, I'm guessing you were excited to see her, and then she's dead.
And that's the thing that it's like, oh my, and when you see her at the very beginning, I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool to see her in here. I'm glad to see she's getting more roles and everything. And it's like, dead. No.
Oh, that's funny.
As much as it was an oh shit moment, I'm also like, no, I wanted more of her. Come on. Come on. But I guess. But also, the other thing I wanted to ask you is that when they set it up, when she's tampering with the light and he's tampering
The trap
with the
door, yeah.
trap door, and they keep it, and
The flappy
they
door.
just, but they keep just saying, oh, this talentless prick, oh, this bitch, oh, and you
Yeah.
think they're talking about each other, right? But
Mhm.
obviously they don't because they want to get together. So my question: do you think they were just insulting the little girl, that poor girl who was doing the show with them, who played their daughter?
That would be funny as fuck.
Because let's be honest, she is kind of a brat. Let's be honest, justifiably so, right? She calls them out where she needs to, but you can tell she has this kind of bratty. I'm out of acting school. This is my big break mindset.
Mhm.
So maybe they were talking about her. You may never.
Well, I do love as well, right? Like at first you think, oh, she's kind of like the newer actress from the new generation, and she's trying to be more oh, what's the word, like she's trying to be more aware of people's sensibilities and stuff like that, right? And trying to be more
Mhm.
kind and things like that. And then you see motorcycle, and then you see later on in the episode she's like, yo, y'all killed that bitch, I want mine here, pay me.
Yeah,
And you're like, okay, damn, never mind. She's also
yeah,
awful.
yeah. That's the other thing that they kind of play it up that she's just there because she's at least that's the thing I got, that she's like the fresh acting graduate that's gonna take any kind of job because it pays the bills and everything.
Mhm.
But that's like, nah, once she's onto it, she's not going to the authorities or something. She wants in, she wants money. Eh,
And then she also, like,
so
I love also that she adds in, like, if you ever talk over my monologue again, I will kill you. she she's
yeah.
also like just as, pompous and everything. It's like, all right.
Mhm.
But again,
um
super fun episode, this one.
mhm.
Even
and
if
I
I was
also like
disappointed
that
about, like,
there's also But there's also something funny about the idea of, because Charlie is essentially a human lie detector, that she doesn't get into shows or movies because acting is essentially a form of lying. So
mm,
she knows it's not authentic. I think it's really clever. And there's also this thing that after she kind of gets their confession essentially, y- there's this ending that I really like, that the Kathleen is giving this speech where finally she's arguably giving the best performance of her career because she's telling the truth in that moment.
mm.
And then when the trap door activates and she falls, that's where you're left to figure out how it, which I which uh,
Again, they end
which I really like.
they have quite a few like exceptionally well done endings, right? For how they end the
Hmm.
episodes for some of them. Very well done.
Yeah. Hmm.
Have to give credit where
Agreed.
credit is due.
Yeah. and and again, so I just think really good episode. And by the way, I like how this show is supposed to be like a one evening play, but then because of the tragedy they do it again, and then they just start doing it again and again because they have all of these, do it again and again. It's like, god damn, how many times are you going to do the same show? Last time, right? And also, when Charlie starts walking in that theater, there's like this. There's a play of like, is it who is it? One of the founding fathers. I don't know. Is that supposed to be a jab at Hamilton?
Maybe that's I had the same thought. I thought it was
Maybe I'm
funny
reading to
though.
do. No, it's funny. It's funny. Don't get me wrong. It's funny, and you can tell it's also kind of. it's not too on the nose if it's supposed to be that, but interesting. Okay.
Fuck you, Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're not cool until you
No,
sing
no, no.
the
We are
Rescue
not
Riders theme
opening that door.
song.
No, we're not opening that door. Ugh. Man, sometimes if I could just sabotage your car, which brings us directly into episode 7, the future of the sport. I'm curious. What did you think about this one?
I thought it was fun. I think this one kind of goes in along the same veins of like episode 5 and episode 3. A bit of a weaker one, but I did like how they made some change. They like kind of changed up the formula a little bit here, where Charlie technically makes friends with the person who commits the crime this time, right? But
Hmm.
not entirely. And it's also this time, no one dies from it, so that's also a little bit different. But as well, the person who initially commits the crime completely confesses without any input from Charlie at all, hardly, right?
Hmm. And the other thing I kind of like is that in this one, you could argue that in the previous one, the person who commit the crime is bad, and the person who is the victim of the crime is good. Here, it's kind of half and half. Like
Yeah, they're both
it's
bad, and they're
essentially
both kind of like
y-
okay.
yeah.
Like they're both like they both have their reasons for doing it, and they both have like awful things about them as well. Like
Mhm. Yeah. So this is again another one where the dynamics is kind of different, and well, again, they both do bad things, right? I think though what it comes down to is essentially that Charlie isn't necessarily trying to screw any side. She's trying more to get both sides to be peaceful with each other, because you can see there is some sort of a Romeo and Juliet type of
well, I
thing
think
with the family, kinda.
maybe it's possible that could be the thing. I think definitely she decided she was trying to screw over Davis after, like, so we should say like the plot or the mystery of this episode is Keith sabotages, it's a racing episode, and Keith, one of the racers, sabotages Davis, another racer who he's been losing
No, I
to's
think I
car.
think it's I think it's the opposite. Davis is the one that's you know that sabotages Keith.
Nope.
No? Maybe I'm
Keith is the
confusing
one
the
who
names.
Keith is the older guy who loses to Davis a
He-
lot.
Okay, yeah, right. It's him that
Keith is the one who's
sabotages.
played again another famous actor, Timothy Blake Nelson. Did not expect to
Hmm.
see him here, by the way.
There you go.
So yeah, but yeah, like Keith is the older guy, and he's been losing to Davis, and so after Davis like is being kind of a douche, right? To some degree, with his,
Yeah,
stealing their mailbox and ruining their yard and shit like that. He's like, all right, fuck him. I'm gonna go set him straight. And so he goes and sabotages his car, not meaning to kill anybody, just to hurt them. And then Davis figures it out that he's sabotaging his car, and is like, okay. And so he makes it even worse, and then offers Keith's daughter to ride in the car, and then she gets badly hurt. And then Keith
yeah,
didn't realize, oh fuck, that was my daughter in there, not Davis. And then so eventually, things happen. Charlie confronts him. Then his wife calls him out on his bullshit, and he's like, fine, and then confesses. And then they have a whole thing where he tells the truth and says, hey, this was all an accident. I didn't mean for it to go that far. Blah blah blah. And then you're kind of like, well, man, Davis kind of a dickhead, especially when Charlie calls him out on it, and he's like, well, I'll just threaten Charlie now as well. And it's like, so at the end of it, like you definitely get this feeling that Davis went way too far, but
yeah.
both sides are in the wrong in this one, right? It's again,
Both
they
sides are in
changed
the
it up
wrong,
just enough,
but
right?
I also like that when Charlie confronts Davis before the episode ends, and she tells him that it's not necessarily that she did something to the car, but she's putting the idea in his head that the car is not safe now.
Mhm.
And right as she's leaving, you can see that he's looking at his hands and they are starting to shake.
Yep.
Cut. Again, like the previous episode, this is a really good moment to cut. It's like you can fill in the blanks the way you want to. What happened afterwards? And I think it's really good to not give you an answer. This is just it leaves you with food
Oh,
for thought too.
yeah, this one has another good ending where, like, if at the start, right, you have this moment where Keith, the older racer, right, talks about like losing like his mojo, his kind of flow and everything, and then in the same way, Davis looks like he's now lost his mojo and his flow now too, and then it just as you said, it cuts right, which
Hmm.
is such a good way to end it because again, it leaves it open to interpretation. Yeah, they may not have got the punishment you wanted to see them get, but it seems like they did get some sort of punishment, right? And it probably is bad
Yeah.
for them.
Hmm. So I enjoy this one, and but now moving on to favorite episode
Your favorite
season,
one, you said.
the Orpheus syndrome. So the one interesting thing to note about that is that this episode is by Natasha Lyonne, plays Charlie. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. I didn't realize that.
Hmm. So now I think for one, this is my favorite. For I think, like I said, your favorite episode could very well be determined by the types of topics that you're interested in
Mm.
outside of the show. So I think the fact that this is about essentially a stop motion artist and a film and a film mishap thing, I think this one spoke to me a lot. But
Again,
also,
a lot of really, high level actors in this one too.
mhm. Yeah, you have Nick Nolte, Charlie Jones, Tim
Louis,
Ross is here.
yeah, Luis Guzman and
Mhm.
Rowan Blanchard.
Yeah, again, the casting in this show is great.
Yeah,
If it wasn't obvious,
yeah.
so yeah, so basically, I like for one that it starts with this idea that you don't that it's not even a who did it. It's necessarily it's just that you see someone literally kill himself.
Mhm.
And we find out later that in a way he did it in order to prevent her from doing something, but she finds a way around it, which she gets an old friend, Max, to essentially reconstruct the guy's face. It's supposedly in his memory, but she's using it to gain access to an old to an old stash of footage,
Yeah,
because she needs to delete the one specific daily in order to destroy evidence. That's that's elaborate as fuck, but it also makes sense.
fair. I agree.
I and especially another reason this is at the end when Laura gives us that speech, but then Charlie plays the footage that she tried to delete and everything, and the way when she's running away and then she falls off the balcony and everything, it's directed like a damn horror movie almost.
Oh yeah,
And
it's
it's
so
so
good.
well done.
It's so good.
It's super well done, and everything, like the pacing for
Also,
this episode is
I want
also
to point
great.
out
Just
Charlie racking up
Mhm.
the body count at this point. She's technically almost as bad as the two old ladies. She's killed two people as well.
Okay, fair enough. But she's good. She's the
Technically
protagonist.
speaking.
So, well, to be honest, though, she's not directly involved in it. She's not.
No,
She doesn't pull any triggers. That's the thing.
no,
Like
but technically speaking,
technical.
she's gotten two people to fall off balconies to their deaths.
Uh, as long as she didn't push them, she is not at fault.
Sure, wink, wink.
To be honest, let's be honest, it's a good excuse. To be honest, let's be honest. What the fuck am I saying anymore? But anyway, yeah, I love this episode. I think the plot is really cool. The way when it's explained, and also that just stop motion is a beautiful art, and to see something celebrating it, and just how hard it is to make jump doing everything in stop motion to like put it in live action afterwards and actually try to change mediums and everything. It's so well done, and it's written well, it plays well, the direction also is fantastic. I just really love this episode. This is a good one. I love it.
Fair.
Sadly, I don't have much to add because I think I basically said everything that I have to. I love everything about it.
Fair.
So moving on to episode 9,
Episode 9.
Escape from Shit Mountain. I guess this is the point where we have to I guess this is a Elon Musk reference, maybe.
Maybe.
Well, that's a joke that went nowhere anyway. Um,
I
so
agree. Maybe.
so again, in terms of just kind of insane, kind of funny thing that there's this guy who's on under house arrest and he just manages to get out for a bit, in order to see this old friend, and then obviously stuff is happening because they are criminals from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of pisses me off about this episode, though, that for once Charlie actually seems to find happiness, and then we forget about it.
Again, episodic nature.
It's not even an episodic nature; it's a 10-minute nature.
I
For like 5 minutes, we see that she's actually making a life for herself with this guy that she actually really likes, and then it's like, nope.
it's the episodic nature. I will blame that
Mm,
always.
if you say so.
This is
But
just my personal hatred for episodic shows. I'm sorry.
I'm not sure how much it applies in this case, but if
I
you say
think
so.
it does.
I can't argue with that, can I? But I will say though, it was seen. How do I pronounce her name? Stephanie Hsu.
Yeah, I think you're right. Stephanie, I think it's
Mhm.
Stephanie Sue. I think the H is
Sue,
supposed to be
probably.
C,
I
but
see the A. I'm not sure if I mispronounce it. Then I apologize.
yeah,
But
do not
I
quote us. We
because
could be wrong. If so, we apologize. But I believe it's Stephanie Sue, I believe.
I believe it could be. So because a year before that, she was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, which if you haven't seen, definitely see it. It's a great movie. So it was nice to see her again. Oh, okay, you're getting roles. I'm happy. I'm glad to see you here. And again, she did great. She did
Mm-hmm.
great for what she had to do. I think though, in terms of episode, this is one that's both kind of ridiculous, but also this is one of the more intense episodes,
Yeah,
I would say.
this is one that has Charlie in a lot more danger as well, and
Hmm
probably the most danger she's been in.
Hell, to some extent, she quote unquote dies by the end.
True, technically speaking, true.
Mhm. Because Multi, the character that Stephanie Super plays, she was in the car when it crashes. So when she wakes up in the hospital, she was mistaken for her, and she's like, well, she's not. Technically, Charlie Kell is no longer alive. But before that, though, everything in the cabin, like considering she's half paralyzed and nobody's really out there to think that I think this is one of the greedier episodes,
Hmm.
and the show kind of knows this because they know that after this there's only one left, right?
Yeah.
So before we get to like the big bad, might as well put you on your toes already, and I think it does it well. I just think the cruelty comes in a bit too late in this
Mhm.
episode.
That's fair. I think I'd agree. Yeah.
Because we start with this guy that with house arresting, and then we see Charlie actually being happy for a bit, and only then does the harshness that were actually hits you.
Mm.
So it feels a bit it feels a bit sporadic to move from this to that, but once it hits and the episode finds its groove, it's really well done. Now, if you want to blame the episodic nature, like Wolf here,
I do.
then uh, of course you do. But so you could probably I could see the argument being made. I am personally not sure that this is the right argument,
No, I don't.
but
I don't think this is due to the episodic nature. I think this is just this particular episode and how they paced it. Right.
Mhm. Well,
I can't tell
but
you
that said,
why that might be the case. Maybe it's again, like you said, they're just close to the end, and so they pace this one a little bit more quickly. I
mhm,
will say, personally, myself, by and again, like there's still a lot of great moments from both these episodes. From I'll say I'll say episode 7. I started to feel a little bit because I binge watched this.
yeah,
I don't recommend doing that. I think by episode 7, I was definitely starting to be like, okay, I kind of want this to be getting close to done now. I'm kind of like getting tired of this. And then episode 8, like, man, there's some great moments here, but I'm kind of tired of this show and this kind of format as so far. Then
I
episode
get
9
it.
comes along, and I'm really like, okay, I'm ready for this to be done.
I suppose I can see that because I've seen it as it was releasing.
Yeah, I
So
think
I
this
think,
is. I would argue this is a better show to watch weekly than it is to binge. Personally, maybe
yeah, there's a very good chance that you're right.
if
I haven't
we
tried
cover season 2, I might try and watch it a bit more weekly and see how
because
it goes.
the other times I've seen the show because I've seen it more than once all the way through, and
Mhm.
the other times it's also haven't hasn't necessarily been a binge. Like sometimes it would even take like maybe episode a day or sometimes even a few days between episodes.
Mm.
So
Yeah,
there's
I
that.
definitely think this is not a binge, a show that you should binge.
Mhm. That being said, moving on to the finale, the hook. Um, so first of all, we see a bit of a montage of how of all the times Cliff tried to find Charlie and failed. Nice to
A
finally.
lot of watching burn notice.
Mhm.
Don't get it, but okay.
Let it go, man. Let it go.
Mm-mm. My
It's-
2007 nostalgia HC for a random show
to
that was
be
kind of
honest,
mid.
I was about to say what nostalgia, but then I do realize years ago, yeah, it can be.
That was 17 years ago.
Fuck, man, I got my PS3 17 years ago. What the fuck? No,
You're
screw it,
welcome. This has been your
18.
segment to
It's
feel old.
18. No, it's 18 even. 18 years.
Yeah.
God damn, I was in middle school. That is nostalgic. What the
This
fuck?
you are welcome. This is your hey, we've decided to make you feel old here at the Outcast. I also just
I hate you so much right now. Okay. Anyway. The hook.
I also just
So,
realized I'm gonna
yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything. Just watch the episode and you'll see what I fucked up.
Well, anyway, so and now so Charlie's been released from the hospital, and this again, this is another because we are following Charlie relatively from the beginning this time around. We are not waiting until the halfway point. We are following from the beginning because as she's been released from the hospital, Cliff is waiting for her, and without much choice, he brings her to Ron Perlman, who offers her a gig,
Mm-hmm.
and then he dies.
Yep. Shame.
Kind of, I mean, it is a shame, kind of waste, and it's kind of wasted. But I also like that, in a way, it's revealed that Cliff was essentially the main bad guy because he's the one he's the one who killed Ron Perlman. I forgot. I know the character's name is Frost Senior, but he's Ron Perlman. What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's the one who's responsible for his death because he's actually someone else, a whole other type of mafia that's a rival to him. That is interesting, and in a way, Cliff is kind of the main villain of the season, which would have fit a lot more if we saw him more. Again, that ticking time bomb, we needed a bit more of him in order. I like the idea, just we needed more of him.
You cut out a bit there. You said we needed a bit more of him, and then you cut out.
I said that I like the idea that essentially he's the big bad that Charlie has to take down in the finale, but we needed to see more of him in order to actually, in order to buy it a bit more. You get me?
Yeah,
It's
I'd
not
agree.
fully solidified.
I would agree. I think we needed more of Cliff doing stuff either to Charlie or in some of the other episodes just being around doing something, right? The only thing we
Mhm.
got at times was just a black car, right? Or we got, the one time I believe in episode 4, yeah, where Cliff actually showed up and that was it. And it was just hi Cliff, bye Cliff, and
Mhm.
then saw nothing of him since then.
Now, at some point, we get to meet Charlie's sister.
Hmm.
I do wonder, what did you think about this review?
Interesting, but we don't know enough for it to mean much at the moment, I feel.
I don't. My take is that we don't necessarily need to know more. We get to know what we need to enough to understand the relationship.
I feel like they're
I'm
going to
just.
do more with that later on in
I
season 2.
assume so. I assume so because to me, and again, as an only child, I have I have no experience with this, right? But having friends who had issues with their siblings and even have estranged siblings. So I've heard stories in my life, right?
Hmm.
I am not sure how to feel about that sudden shift, right? Because the way they show it, you kind of point Charlie out as she's the estranged sister essentially, and I'm not sure how if I can possibly root for someone who just one day left their family. Again, maybe season 2 is going to address this, and where they are going to tell me something that's going to make me look at this in a complete way. And again, I still love Charlie as a character. I just think it's a pretty big bomb to just drop on us in the final episode and expect me to just roll with it.
That's fair. I think I'll withhold judgment for a bit longer to see if they do anything more with this in season 2, but I think that's a fair
Mhm.
opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I also like that, despite the relationship with the sister, I think was written well in the sense that the sister does try to help her out, but she's also stay away from my family.
Yeah,
I
she's
don't want you around them.
still very much
It
angry with
felt.
her and doesn't like her. Yeah. Or
Mhm.
Charlie, that is.
Which again, I think there was a very good chance that this was supposed to be the point. Charlie is not supposed to be sympathetic in this scenario. She did do something bad. I'll reserve more judgment if season 2 is going to do more with that. But as of right now, it felt weak. It felt a bit, huh? Okay, it's interesting. It's done well overall. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I'm vibing with this all the way. Not yet.
Fair enough.
But eventually, we managed to take care of Cliff because, of course, and also Simon Helberg comes back, and he's actually. I like that he actually tries to help Charlie out because she did help him, and she got him a promotion. So that's cool.
I will admit, I was expecting we'd be teaming up with the FBI for next season, but we will not be,
Yeah,
as far
and
as we're
that's the
aware.
other thing. Yeah, because that's the other thing I like. He offers her a stance with the FBI and she refuses, and then the leader of the other gangster group calls her up and tells her, I have an offer for you, and but if you reject my offer, we're going to come after you. and Charlie basically tells her to fuck off. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she tells her to go to hell. She destroys the phone, and who knows where this is going. So I kind of like season endings like this for a first season, that because overall I got a lot out of this season. I feel satisfied from this one season, but I also feel like there's an interest in me saying I want to see where the story goes. It doesn't feel like the end.
I'll say I'm interested, but I was definitely a little bit more disappointed. I came into this expecting a bit more mystery, and I didn't really get that since all my mysteries were solved in the first 5 to 10 minutes.
Mhm.
And I wish it wasn't. So, I'm definitely, and it also didn't help that I didn't personally make that good connection with Charlie as a character, I feel, to really want to root for her. So, I hope season two can either give me a bit more of the mystery and not just give me the answer in 5 to 10 minutes, or I hope that I can, make that connection with Charlie and actually start to care for her a lot more as a character. And that way I'm very much rooting for her to, figure it out and win the day, right?
Mhm. Well, I guess we'll see whenever season two completes its run,
Well,
and
anything
that
you're,
should be.
is there anything you're looking forward from season two?
I guess
Anything you
it's
want to see?
interesting things that I want to see. Well, for one, I'm interested to see if there's anything more to do with Charlie's sister,
Mm-hmm. A new
because,
one?
like I said, this is a plot point that they just kind of introduced, and I'm wondering where is this going to go? Where is this going to take us? Obviously, I'm interested in seeing what this other gangster family is going to be, their part is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing that I'm interested in, I'm not entirely sure though, but if it'll make sense or not, but maybe have some characters return here and there to, because the only thing we know about season two so far, apparently the final episode is going to of the second season is going to be called "The End of the Road." With a name like
Mm-hmm.
that, I'm also kind of going to ask, is season two going to be the final one? Because if so, I'm trying to figure out where would a good place for Charlie to end up and what's like the ideal spot for her story to finish. I'm not sure if I know that yet. And I want to know, I'm just, how far ahead do I actually need to set my expectation? You get what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. I, I would also say I think it would be interesting to see. Shit, I had a thought and I lost it.
I get you.
No, it's I am tentatively curious, right? It's definitely, again, it wasn't my favorite show. It definitely hasn't won me over quite yet, but I hope season two is able to do so.
Mhm.
And again, I'm tentatively interested in that regard. I want to see, and I do hope it can do better and get better, right?
Yeah.
And also, I think, I don't know if you mentioned it, but I don't think you did, but I would like to see them change up the formula a little bit more. They did it a little bit this season, but now that you're getting the second season, I hope they're willing to experiment with the formula a little bit more than what they did in the first season. Not just have it be the same. Hey, here's your, here's your like section where we show you here's the murder victim and here's the murderer and how that all happens, and then we switch over to Charlie. Maybe do something a little bit different with that. Change it up a little bit more. Also, change up who Charlie tends to make friends with a little bit more, right? Do other stuff too. You have that, second season now, so hopefully they get to experiment a bit more and do a bit more now.
I tell you what, I think I don't necessarily want them to change the format too much. I get you with what you say. I get
Yeah,
what
no,
you're
fair.
saying with the idea of just don't reveal the mystery too too early.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do that. But I think also, you know what? Let's not change it too much because then the show kind of loses the hook.
That's fair.
It needs to play more of a balance, I suppose. I think that's the best way to go about it.
That's fair.
So that being said, we'll be in touch with you whenever season two completes its run later
Mhm.
this year. And uh, anything else to say about Poker Face before we wrap up?
No, if you think it interests you, go watch it. It is definitely a fun show, no matter what my feelings of it are.
Mhm. Wolf is wrong. it's I think though it is a show. It is a talk about. I am looking forward to season two. And I guess this is all for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What did you think about Poker Face? Are you excited for season two? What was your favorite episode of season one, and what plot points, if any, you want to continue? You can tell us all about it in below on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. So until next time, I was A,
I was Wolf.
and we will see you all next time in the next episode. Take care.
Bye bye.